Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of Gardener's World, where me, Monty Don, will talk to you about those jobs that we will need to do in November. We're here at Longmeadow. Hold on. Not Gardener's World, no. Not Longmeadow. Oh, I am a silly boy. Let's get to it. I think many of you would agree with me when I say that Gardener's World, the flagship program of the BBC, is not the program that it used to be. Certainly not 10 years ago, and if you go back 30 years, there really is very little that has remained from the quality of information that was given out there. Dare I say that at the moment, there is a little bit of a message running through some of the parts of that program, and possibly a concentration of who the people are talking on Gardener's World rather than what they know. I don't need to say any more than that. But despite that, Monty Don's gardening advice is usually pretty solid. Now, there might not be too much of depth on the program from Monty Don, but if you go into his monthly job list, then there's certainly a bit more information in there. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to go through Monty Don's job list for November, and we're going to add some more layers of knowledge to make it make a bit more sense and increase your understanding of gardening technique and practical horticulture. So let's get to it. The first one is to do with leaves, a rarely used but rather important resource that you could take advantage of in your garden. Leaves. Look at that lovely leafy resource. So Monty Don recommends that you collect your leaves, place them in a pile somewhere, allow them to rot down, and they will create a absolutely lovely garden mulch that you can use to add nutrition and protection in your garden later on next year. And that's absolutely fine. However, if you do just leave it in a pile in your garden, there's a good chance get a strong wind, it's going to blow everywhere else, and we don't want leaves on the lawn, because they're left on the lawn, you will get dead patches, muddy patches come the spring, and it's a devil's own job to try and get the grass that was there to grow back. You will need to repair and reseed. Personally, I would advise collecting all the leaves up, placing them inside of bin liners. Put some holes, use a fork, stab the bag, get the holes in there, put some water in there, and then put those bags somewhere out of sight where you don't need to see them, because nobody wants to see a load of old, horrible, smelly bags. Now, it can take a while for the leaves in the bags to break down and create a mulch. You're looking usually about a year and a half, possibly 2 years. It will depend on the leaves that you are composting, especially if you've got a lot of evergreen leaves. However, Monty Don has got a great idea in order to speed up the process, and that is to mow over the leaves in your lawn. Set your mower at a higher height and just mow over them, and they'll be automatically shredded by the mower blade. That is a good idea. Thoroughly recommend it. Do that one, but don't leave them in piles in the garden. Not here in the UK when we get our winter storms. That's not a great idea. This second job is to do with planting your tulip bulbs. Now, tulip bulbs will be available to buy in your garden centres, in your supermarkets come September, but delay planting those because there is a problem that we have here in the UK and quite possibly other areas in the world regarding a rather nasty fungal infection known as tulip fire. The fungal spores of tulip fire have remained dormant in the ground over the summer, and then come the autumn rains, it bounces them back into the air. Perfect timing for when you're usually planting your tulip bulbs. But if you wait until November, December, the amount of these fungal spores that are in the atmosphere is very much reduced. So November is the best time to start considering planting your tulip bulbs. It is good advice. It is what Monty Don recommends, and I, for one, Completely agree with him. Well, there's a change. Now, see, dahlias, they really have run out of steam. I don't think you're going to get any more blooms out of these. And that's not a problem because it won't be long before we get our first hard frost, and all of the stems, the foliage are going to be completely ruined, killed off by the freezing temperatures. And that brings about a timely job, and that is to cut back the stems, leave a few inches at the base so you know where your plants are. And if you are living in the south of England where it is quite mild over the winters, then you can get away with putting down a dry mulch. I would usually put down bark chipping, so you would need to have a little bit of snaggy stem at the base in order to identify where you left your dahlias after cutting them all back. Now, further north, a bit colder, you will have to lift these. I'll explain what you need to do. Oh, hold on a minute. If you're finding this video useful or even just mildly amusing, then don't forget to click the thumbs up, press on that subscription, and if you want to be notified of whenever we release a new video, then click on that notification bell. It helps us more than you know, and it allows us to do stupid visits like this in the future. Anyway, let's continue to find out what old boiled butt has to say. Put my bloody glasses back on. Too hot, too sunny. It's too lovely. You will want to dig up and lift those dahlia roots. The roots are these big, thick tubers that aren't terribly strongly connected to most of the plants. So be really gentle, be very careful when lifting these to keep the root ball intact. And then you're just going to pop them back up again in like a very fibrous, free draining compost or vermiculite sawdust, something that is fairly inert and allows water to pass through. You want to keep the roots on the dry side, but at the same time you don't want them to desiccate and shrivel up, because they won't then be viable come the spring. When you want to replant them, they'll be dead basically. So whatever you keep them in, just be aware that during that period until next spring, before they go out again, you just need to give them a touch of moisture every now and again, just to stop them from completely drying out. So again, another piece of very good advice. November is a fantastic time to lift your hardy herbaceous perennials, either to lift them, to move them around the garden because they were in the wrong place, or to propagate by division to give you more plants. And that way you can increase the your plant stock in the garden. Also, it's a great time to then consider sharing it with your friends and gardening neighbors. Now, usually the weather's quite mild, so it's a good time of year to do it. And also the ground's usually very, very wet, so it makes lifting very easy. However, if the ground is dry, then make sure the plants you're going to lift, they are properly watered the day before. When you are lifting, try and cause as little damage to the root system as you possibly can, because all these little snap broken roots, these are new infection points for soil-borne diseases, so we don't want to do that. And when you do move them, some of these herbaceous plants, there'll be no noticeable signs of top growth and you won't know where they are. So put in a label or something that tells you where they are, so come the spring you're not going to be stomping over any of the new growth as it starts to emerge, because you'll damage those plants. Now, Monty Don does recommend putting his mulches down in the spring, which I don't really agree with. I'd rather do that a little bit later on in the winter when everything is dormant and down and the ground is clear, so it just avoids damaging. And also, if you're planting spring flowering bulbs or roots, again, you're not going to be digging them up because you know exactly where they are. You don't want to disturb the root systems just as they're about to produce their leaves. So November is a fantastic time of year to do this kind of work, and it is on Monty Don's job list, so well done. We are now at the penultimate job list on Monty Don's job list for November, and it's to do with winter preparation for your tree ferns. Now, he mentions two jobs. The first is to place straw or old leaves or something to protect the crown, the center of the crown. I'll show you. In here, in the center, you know, you got your funnel of leaves, and right in the middle, you got your crown where all the new growth comes through. I mean, there's plenty of leaf in here anyway, but I'll be doing a lot more winter protection on these come the time. November, at least on the south coast, is a little bit early, but further north, probably not, probably absolutely fine. But he says, put straw in here. I don't think straw is going to be good enough. I like to put in like a ball, a nicely tight ball of horticultural fleece, and that adds cold protection against the crown being frozen. Now, these plants will take down to approximately -5 degrees, especially if they're protected by the canopy of a higher tree. And sadly, this hasn't got any leaves on, but you know what I mean. He also recommends wrapping the top of the trunk, which again is where the crown is, because that is the growing point of your tree fern. It's not at the base where the roots are, it's actually at the top where you get your emerging fronds in the spring. But let's be honest with you, this isn't enough protection to maintain these in its best condition over the winter period. Now, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. I will say that Monty Don doesn't recommend protecting the fronds because he says, well, they'll get frosted and they'll die back. You don't need to worry about it. But I completely disagree with that. I have published a video going into a lot of detail when it comes to overwintering your tree ferns, because there is so much poor information out there that will literally kill your plants over really 2-3 seasons. I've seen it all the time. I've seen an absolutely devastating stand of tree ferns where very few of them are still alive. I don't want you to not put in enough work that puts your tree ferns at risk, because you know who's going to be the blame for that. I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask they pay for them. So if you have any concerns with regards to overwintering your tree ferns and maintain them in their best condition whatsoever, then I have released a video. This is the thumbnail for it. You can't click on that, that won't work, but I will put the link in the description for you, because you get it wrong. These are very, very expensive mistakes. Monty Don's last job is to do with your bare root plants, notably roses, because this seems to be the dominant plant that people buy as bare root, but it will also be the same advice for your bare root trees, bare root shrubs. As soon as you get them, you need to protect the root systems. If you can, heal them into the ground. Make sure those roots are covered with some damp soil. If you don't have the opportunity to do that, as soon as they get in, then get some wet hessian, put the wet hessian over the roots again. You don't want those roots from drying out, because that will quickly kill off the plant and you've wasted your money, wasted your time. So if you can plant them the moment they turn up at your house, that is absolutely fine. Get them in the ground, water them, job is done. But if there's any delay between you receiving them and then planting them up into their final position, make sure those roots are protected. Like I say, there's only 2 ways to do it. Wet hessian over the roots, make sure that remains wet, or heal them into the ground. I do see people putting them in buckets of water. That is fine, but some of these plants will not cope with waterlogged conditions, and again, it's another way to kill off your plant, and nobody wants to see a dead plant, especially because you did it. That makes you a plant murderer. I believe I've spent enough time in the company of death. I know as a job list, there's not a huge amount of jobs on there, and there are plenty of other gardening jobs that you should be doing in November, even here in the UK. But this video is also watched in other parts of the world. Canada, America, Australia, all of the English-speaking countries, and many others besides, because now YouTube enables me to speak in different languages because it is ever so clever. Anyway, hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to click that like button. It is goodbye from me. And it's a goodbye from me, the big Mackie D, Monty Don. In the meantime, don't forget to buy one of my books. There is always one about to come out. And try not to kill your plants, you peasants. Thanks for watching. you can see me again in my next jaunt around the world, where I see some of the best gardeners and gardens that the BBC can pay for. Right, now, just before you go, if you want to see more content, more behind the scenes stuff, and images that I've taken of some weird freaky plants over the years, then you're in luck, because we've created an Instagram page. So you can find the link in our description, you can find the link on our main page, and if I'm clever enough I might be able to get a link somewhere up there. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you want to see more YouTube stuff, then check out this video here. That's quite a good one. And if it doesn't float your boat, then another one right there. And enjoy these while I've still got the strength, imagination and aptitude to make them. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.